They fly apart real nice, don't they?
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. For today's video, we're going to be checking out the Transformers Studio Series Voyager class Ironhide, based on the incredible War for Cybertron video game, and sadly, alongside the upcoming Thundercracker, right now is the only new High Moon Studio character slated to be released over the next 2 years. And I've got to say that it's definitely one that I've been pretty excited for. This guy's based off Ratchet, which alongside Starscream, I think has to easily be one of the better looking Gamer Edition figures. And it got me thinking, has there actually been a bad Studio Series Ironhide? There was the original 2007 live action movie version, which I think I can safely say even put to bed the masterpiece. The version based on the opening of the Bumblebee movie, which, considering that most of those guys didn't even transform, had a robot mode that absolutely slapped. The 86 movie Voyager, which I still think is easily my favourite, just as it's such an improvement visually compared to what came before. And as we whack up an image of how this guy appeared in the game, whilst not completely perfect, it is still pretty close. And surprisingly, not just a repaint of Ratchet. The head, shoulders and chest have all been modified to better match up with the actual in-game render, and to be honest, were the only parts that really changed between the two. I guess my only real complaint from the front would be again the lack of paint. Much like Ratchet, this guy's been battling it out on a war-torn Cybertron, and I really do think maybe could have done with the battle damage that we did see throughout the Transformers Siege line, just to really dirty him up. Another very minor issue which I also think's worth mentioning would be how the feet are kind of tilted downwards. From the side, if you do want this guy standing upright, he can begin to look a little awkward, and it can make some poses a little frustrating to get into. But to be honest, it's really not that much of a deal breaker. And as we spin him around to the back, this guy is stacked. Although again, not completely accurate, which I do think is a slight shame. Especially as in the game, this is your main point of view when playing as any of the characters. Although, seeing as Ironhide is the bruiser of the group, I actually don't think it looks too bad with the backpack kind of splayed open, almost acting as additional armor for the robot mode. But honestly, I can't complain for too long, as this does help to conceal near seamlessly his forearm, which has to be some of the best looking weapon storage seen from a mainline toy in a very long time. And you know what, guys, just in general, I've got to mention how cool it is to see Hasbro really smacking that nostalgia button for fans of the late 2000s. So far this year, we've had Hatchet, Dark of the Moon Q, Age of Extinction Optimus Prime, and now Ironhide. Let's just hope that rumoured concept art Widowmaker also isn't too far behind, and we will stay winning. Which leads me on to his accessories. Ironhide includes his EMP shotgun, which, if we whack up an image of how this appeared in the game, I do think is kind of slacking in the detail department. It definitely does look to be missing quite a few polygons, but again, as seen from the previous entries, near seamlessly integrates into the forearm to really give the impression that, much like in the game, it has transformed out of his arm, which I've always thought was such a cool gimmick. We're also now collecting a pretty decent chunk of weapons as seen in the game. So far, there's been Prime's Ion Blaster, Megatron's Fusion Cannon, Bumblebee's Energon Battle Pistol and Plasma Cannon, the Neutron Assault Rifle, Starscream's Null Ray, Sideswipe's Photon Burst Rifle, Ratchet's Energon Repair Ray, and then finally the Thermo Rocket Launcher. And as someone who grew up religiously playing those games after school, it's just so awesome to have actual physical models of them that you can interchange between the different characters at will. But as for his next accessory though, he also includes his handheld Energon Battle Axe, which I do believe is exactly the same as Ratchet's, as it really should be, as I don't believe there were any differences in the game itself. But this is a really decent looking weapon, and might just be even better than the axe included with Optimus Prime. Crashing his way into posability, I've got to say that for a slightly bulkier guy, he's actually pretty agile. So to begin with, the head is on a ball joint. This can look up and down very slightly, but can also turn left to right. The shoulder pads, much like Ratchet, can be hinged out to the side, allowing the shoulders to kick forwards, backwards, and outwards with no issues at all. The biceps can spin, with the elbows being able to bend to 90. The hands can rotate, and the same can also be said for the waist joint, but due to the transformation, this guy is also packing a fake ab crunch. The hips can kick forwards, backwards, and out to the side. There is no proper thigh rotation, but instead a knee swivel, and these can also bend to 90. Then finally, the front part of the foot can rock downwards, with the ankle being able to kick inwards. But to really see the true power of Ironhide, let's now put him through the pose test. Firing through some robot mode size comparisons, first up is the War for Cybertron Voyager class Ratchet. Now with the exception of the colour scheme, they changed the head, the shoulders and the chest plate. But to kind of go back to my earlier point, those are all accurate differences. If you were to compare the both of them to their actual in-game renders, they came incredibly close. And just on a personal note, if I could show these two to my 10-year-old self, I'm pretty certain he would have had an aneurysm. Next up is this beefcake, Optimus Prime, which visually is a huge contrast in comparison to this Megatron. I still stand by my original review in saying that this guy is just way too spindly, and it's kind of crazy that at least to myself, both Starscream and Ironhide got better updates in comparison to the leader of the Decepticons. As a nice old throwback to the original G1 cartoon, here is the Studio Series 86 Ironhide, the deluxe Bumblebee movie version, and between two of the more recent Cybertronian takes on this character, which is the one you guys prefer? Rounding things off with just three more, here is Sideswipe, the Decepticon Soldier, and then finally Bumblebee. Switching over to this guy's transformation, there is a reason why both him and Starscream have to be by far some of the highlights of the line, and it's really down to how involved he is from an engineering standpoint. The transformation between the both of them, again, really does throw me back to some of those late 2000s Hunt for the Decepticon figures. So for the first step, spin around to the side, take the backpack and fold it downwards, which will then allow you to take both sides and splay these open. You can then take a hold of the shoulder pads, flip these upwards and compress them against the back of the head. You'll then take the chest plate, firstly detach it and then extend this joint here forwards. The head is now going to compress inside the fake windshield, which will then allow us to take the top half and slide this here backwards. Once completed, we can now take the bicep and detach it away from the shoulder. You'll then take the bicep and spin this around, as the entire shoulder joint is now going to slide upwards and will attach into the underside of the chest plate. With that completed, this tab is now going to slide into this slot, so fold the forearm down until this does connect into place. And once completed, spin around to the back, take the backpack and snap this here forwards until it does snap into place. With the top half now fully transformed, we can begin to make use out of the waist joint until the front now faces the back. We can then take the tips of the feet and slide this here downwards. As for the next step, we are going to spin all the way around at the knee joint. With that completed, we can now pop open the shins and take a hold of all of the components stored within and extend these here to the back. You'll then take a hold of this panel, fold it here upwards until this does snap into place. You'll then want to spin around to the back, take this panel and extend it, as we are now going to make use out of this hinge joint and proceed to fold all of this here inwards until eventually the top perfectly lines up with the bottom. With the same completed for the second side, we can now combine both halves at 3 points, the first being directly at the back, with the second being the shins, which are stored on the underside of the vehicle, with finally the third being the top part of the vehicle. The shins are now going to snap into the underside. We can then spin back up to the top of the vehicle, where you'll want to first of all angle the roof downwards, and secondly slide it forwards until the roof now slides underneath the windshield. And that right there, guys, is the transformation now fully complete.
Slow down!
Here is Ironhide now fully transformed into his Cybertronian truck mode. And again, as we whack up an image of how he did appear on screen, I was actually quite surprised to see just how insanely spot on he actually is, and that in comparison to Ratchet, there are quite a few changes made to the sculpt. Take the back for example. This has been completely retooled to resemble the cybernetics as seen in the game, and it's something so minor that I'm actually quite surprised they even bothered with. They also completely modified the front end of the vehicle, again to better match the actual game render. And I've got to say that even in this mode, this guy still has to be easily one of my favourite molds from the Gamer Edition line. Front, side to back, he is completely filled in and the plastic used is dense. My only minor complaint, which unfortunately is a carryover from Ratchet, would be how the EMP shotgun is still unable to be mounted up top to give this guy a full-blown weaponized look, which I do think is a slight missed opportunity, as if I'm not mistaken, it is something that we do actually see in the game. But as we've been seeing from nearly all of these more recent Studio Series figures, Ironhide has proper pinned into place wheels, giving him the ability to not only glide back and forth, but to wipe through his enemies with no issue at all. Racing through a few vehicle mode size comparisons, again on the right is the War for Cybertron Voyager class Ratchet, Optimus Prime, who is actually massive in this mode, the 86 movie Ironhide, Deluxe class Bumblebee movie Ironhide, then finally Bumblebee. And say what you will when it comes down to their robot modes, but I think we can all safely agree that when in vehicle mode, the Gamer Edition line so far has been killing it. So, wrapping up on this review for the Transformers Studio Series Voyager class Ironhide. In all, this is yet another win for the Gamer Edition subline. Much like Ratchet, Ironhide looks great in both robot and vehicle mode, and really only has a few very minor issues which, to be honest, aren't even bad enough for me to really complain about. The only thing which I would have liked to have seen improved would have been the detailing on the shotgun. For the standards of the Studio Series, it does look to be a little soft, and in comparison to some of the other entries, almost looks like a knockoff. But if you enjoyed Ratchet, then I also think you're really gonna like Ironhide. I would love to get what you guys think down below. As always, I thank you all so much for watching, and until my next video, I'll see you then. Transform and roll out!